The lonely voice. The ship floated in the dark space, silent like a grave. Only one man walked inside it, his footsteps soft against the metal floor. His name was Ethan, a human who had not spoken to another soul in many weeks. The stars outside looked cold and far away, and the emptiness of space pressed on his mind. To fight the silence, Ethan talked to himself. Sometimes he whispered, sometimes he spoke louder, pretending that someone was listening. It made him feel less alone. He told himself jokes, he asked questions, and he even argued with his own thoughts. "Maybe I'm going crazy," Ethan muttered with a dry laugh. His voice echoed back to him from the walls. He leaned against the window, looking at a dying planet below, its surface cracked like broken glass. "Not much left out there, huh?" he said, sighing. "And not much left in here either." He had no crew, no family, no messages reaching him. It was just him and the silence. Yet he kept talking, as if words could keep his heart alive. Sometimes he imagined someone listening, a friend, a stranger, or even the ship itself. One evening, after many hours of silence, Ethan sat on the floor near the control panels. He spoke softly. "If anyone could hear me, I'd tell them everything. I'd tell them I'm tired of being strong. I'd tell them I miss the sound of laughter. I'd tell them I'm scared that I'll die out here." His voice cracked, and for the first time he let the tears fall. They rolled down his face and dropped onto the cold metal floor. He thought he was safe in his loneliness, safe because no one could hear his weakness. He pressed his forehead to his knees, breathing slowly. The ship hummed gently, but gave him no answer. At least, that's what he thought. From the shadows, a pair of eyes opened. They were not human eyes. They glowed faintly with a soft, silver light. A figure moved slowly, silently, watching him with an expression that was almost tender. It was a woman, but not like any woman Ethan had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like the surface of water under moonlight. Her hair was dark and fell like flowing silk. And when she smiled, it was gentle, but filled with something ancient. For a moment, she simply watched him, as though she had been waiting for this exact moment. Ethan rubbed his eyes, whispering to himself again. "Get up, Ethan, you're losing it. Now you're imagining people watching you." His voice trembled, though he tried to laugh. And then it happened. The alien woman stepped into the dim light. Her eyes locked onto him, her smile soft but sharp at the same time. Her voice came like a whisper carried on the wind. "I heard everything," she said. Ethan froze. His heart stopped for a beat. He lifted his head slowly, staring at her in disbelief. Her words cut through him, sharp and terrifying. His mind screamed that it was impossible. No one was here. No one had been here. But she stood there, real, breathing, her eyes never leaving his. Ethan's throat went dry. His voice broke when he whispered back, Who are you?" The alien woman tilted her head, the glow in her eyes never fading. Her smile deepened, almost as if she enjoyed his fear. "I told you," she said softly. "I heard everything." Ethan stumbled to his feet, backing away slowly. His hands shook as he pressed against the control desk behind him. His voice cracked. "That's impossible. You can't be real. I've been alone here for months." But the woman only watched him, calm, patient, as if she had all the time in the universe. Silence stretched between them, heavy and sharp. Ethan felt naked, exposed, as if every word he had spoken in the dark had been stolen. The jokes, the fears, the tears. She had heard them all. The thought made his chest tighten with panic. Finally, she took another step closer. The light touched her face fully, showing beauty that was not human, but still haunting. Her smile faded into something more serious, almost sad. "Loneliness speaks louder than you think," she whispered. "And I have been listening." Ethan's breath caught in his chest. The ship that once felt empty now felt like a trap. His secrets, his pain, his weakness. Nothing was hidden anymore. He was not alone. And yet, he had never been more afraid. The alien woman's eyes softened as if she could feel the storm inside him. "You think your words were lost," she said gently, "but they reached me, every single one." Ethan shook his head slowly, unable to understand. Why were you listening? He asked, his voice trembling. Her smile returned, small and mysterious. Because you were talking to me, she answered. The ship hummed again. The stars outside burned cold and bright, and Ethan realized his life had just changed forever. The stranger in the dark. Ethan's heart hammered inside his chest. The ship was supposed to be empty, yet this woman stood before him, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes shimmered with a silver hue, and her smile carried both warmth and danger. He swallowed hard, pressing his back against the control desk as if it could protect him. Stay away from me, Ethan whispered, his voice shaky. The alien woman tilted her head, studying him like a curious animal. I am not your enemy, she said softly. I only revealed myself because I wanted you to know. Her words were calm, yet every syllable seemed to carry hidden weight. Ethan forced a laugh that cracked in the middle. You just appear out of nowhere and say you've been listening to me, he said, and I'm supposed to believe you're not a threat. The woman didn't move closer. She only lowered her gaze for a moment, as if his fear hurt her. I could have spoken long ago, she whispered. But I didn't. I waited. I listened. The silence inside the ship grew heavy again. Only the faint hum of the engines and Ethan's ragged breathing filled the air. He tried to steady himself, his mind racing with questions. Who was she? How long had she been here? And most of all, what did she want from him? Finally, Ethan found his voice again. What are you? He asked, his words trembling with both curiosity and dread. Her silver eyes lifted to his, and for a heartbeat, he thought he saw sorrow in them. I am a prisoner, she said simply. And so are you. Ethan blinked in confusion. A prisoner, he repeated. I'm not a prisoner. This is my ship. But she shook her head slowly, her hair falling like shadows across her shoulders. Your ship is a cage, she said. A cage made of silence and secrets. Her words sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. He looked around the cabin, the panels, the windows, the lifeless corridors. For weeks he had thought he was free, drifting through space. Yet now he wondered, was he really in control? Or was he trapped in something bigger than he could see? The alien woman stepped closer this time, her movements slow, deliberate. Ethan didn't back away, though his legs screamed for him to run. She spoke again, her voice low but clear. You speak to yourself because you believe no one is there. But I was always here, in the shadows, listening to the sound of your soul. His breath caught. The thought that every word he had said in private, every whisper of fear, every confession, had been heard by her, made his skin crawl. He wanted to shout at her, to demand answers, but his throat tightened. Instead, he whispered, Why me? The alien woman's smile faded into something gentler. Because you kept me alive, she said. Your words kept me from fading into the darkness. You gave me something to hold on to. Ethan's chest tightened, torn between fear and a strange, fragile compassion. She wasn't just a stranger. Shot. He had shared his solitude, silently, invisibly. He shook his head, trying to break free from the storm inside him. If you've been here all this time, hiding, he asked, why show yourself now? Her glowing eyes locked on his, sharp and unblinking. Because you are ready, she said. And because the silence is ending. The silence is ending. Her words echoed inside his mind like a warning. What do you mean? He asked, his voice hushed. But she only smiled again, that same unsettling mix of kindness and mystery. You will understand soon, she whispered. Ethan's body trembled with unease. He glanced toward the door, wondering if he should lock her out, but deep down he knew it was useless. This woman, whatever she was, had already been inside his world, inside his thoughts. There was no shutting her out now. He lowered his head, struggling with the weight of the moment. Part of him wanted to trust her, to believe her words, Another part screamed that she was dangerous, that nothing about her presence was normal. The conflict inside him tore at his mind. When Ethan looked up again, she was closer. Standing only a few steps away, he could see the shimmer of her skin, like ripples of water touched by moonlight. Her voice came soft, like a secret shared between them. "Ethan," she whispered, "you are not as alone as you think." His heart pounded faster. She knew his name, though he had never spoken it aloud in her presence. The realization sent chills crawling down his spine. How much did she truly know? How deep had her listening gone? For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence, the stars outside staring like cold eyes. Ethan felt trapped between fear and a strange pull toward her. Finally, he managed a whisper. "What do you want from me?" Her silver eyes glistened as she looked at him. "I want you to see me," she said simply. "Not as a stranger, not as a prisoner, but as someone who has heard your truth." Ethan's breath hit seize. He didn't know whether to run, to fight, or to reach out. And in that uncertain moment he realized something terrifying. The silence of his ship had been broken, and nothing would ever be the same again. The secret listener. Ethan stood frozen, his body tense like a wire about to snap. The alien woman's words kept echoing in his head. "I heard everything. You are not alone." The silence is ending. Each phrase was a puzzle, sharp and heavy. He wanted to demand answers, but his voice stayed trapped in his throat. Finally, he forced himself to speak. "You've been hiding on my ship," he whispered. "All this time." The woman nodded slowly, her silver eyes never leaving his face. "Yes," she said softly. "I was here before you even knew this ship was yours." Her answer struck him like a blade. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking. "This is my ship. I've been living here. I've been in control." The woman's expression softened, almost like pity. "Control," she repeated quietly. "That is only what they let you believe." Ethan's breath caught. "They," he muttered. "Who are they?" But the woman didn't answer directly. She stepped closer instead. Every movement of hers was slow, careful, like she carried centuries of secrets in her bones. She sat down on the cold metal floor, her glowing eyes watching him with unsettling calm. "I will tell you," she said, "but you must listen as I have listened to you." Ethan hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to run, but curiosity burned too strongly. He lowered himself to the floor across from her. The woman closed her eyes for a moment as if gathering strength. "When you spoke to yourself," she said gently, "I was listening. Your laughter, your sorrow, your confessions, they became my lifeline." Her voice trembled slightly, though her face remained composed. "I was locked away in shadows, hidden by the IR technology, unseen and unheard. But your words reached me. They kept me alive." Ethan's chest tightened. He remembered all the times he spoke freely, whispering his fears into the dark, the loneliness that had nearly crushed him. She had been there, silent, absorbing every piece of him. The thought made him shiver, both frightened and strangely moved. "Why?" he asked, his voice raw. "Why listen to me? Why not show yourself sooner?" Her eyes opened, glowing brighter in the dim cabin. "Because I was afraid," she said simply. "Afraid of what you might do, afraid of what they might do if I revealed myself. I did not know if you were their ally or my enemy." Ethan frowned. "Their enemy," he repeated. "Who are they? What are you talking about?" The woman's gaze flickered, filled with shadows. "You are not the first human they brought here," she whispered. "And you will not be the last, but you may be the first to change what comes next." Her words shook him. Not the first. Did that mean others had come before? And if so, what had happened to them? His mouth went dry as he whispered, "What happened to the others?" The woman's face grew hard, her voice heavy. "They are gone," she said, "erased, silenced, forgotten, their voices lost to the void." Ethan's blood turned cold. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The woman leaned closer, her voice urgent now. "But you are different, Ethan. You kept speaking. You refused silence. And because of that, I heard you." His heart pounded faster. He didn't know if he should feel proud or terrified. He whispered, "Why does it matter if you heard me? What does it change?" Her silver eyes locked onto his, burning with a strange light. "It changes everything," she said firmly. "Because your voice is not just sound, it is resistance, it is life, and it reached me when I was almost gone." Ethan felt something shift inside him. For weeks he had spoken only to fight the crushing loneliness, never imagining his words mattered. And now he realized they had carried weight. They had saved someone else. The thought both humbled and unsettled him. He leaned forward slightly, his fear still present but mixed with curiosity. "What are you?" he asked again, more gently this time. The woman's lips curved into a faint smile. "I am one of many who were taken, bound and hidden. My people fought against those who enslaved us, but we lost, and I was brought here as punishment." Her words cut through the silence like fire. Enslaved, punished. Ethan's mind spun with questions he couldn't form quickly enough. But the woman continued, her voice soft but strong. "And then I heard you, a human voice in the silence, raw and unguarded. And I realized, maybe the universe had not abandoned me completely." Ethan's throat tightened. The weight of her gaze pressed on him, as though she was silently asking him to understand. He struggled to breathe, torn between suspicion and an unfamiliar sense of connection. Finally, he whispered, "So, what happens now?" The alien woman's smile returned, but this time it carried sadness and warning. "Now," she said softly, "you must decide if you will remain blind inside their cage, or if you will see the truth with me." Ethan felt his pulse race. He didn't know what the truth was or if he even wanted to know. But deep inside, a voice whispered that there was no turning back anymore. Between fear and trust, Ethan sat frozen on the cold metal floor. The alien woman's words still echoed inside his mind. A cage, prisoners, silence. His chest rose and fell in uneven breaths as he tried to process everything. For so long he thought he was alone, and now he was being told he was part of something he could not even see. The woman's glowing eyes stayed fixed on him, calm but unyielding. She seemed patient, as if she had waited years for this very moment. Ethan rubbed his hands against his knees, trying to ground himself. "Why should I believe you?" he whispered, his voice low and tight. Her expression softened. "Because you have nothing else to hold on to," she said gently. "And because your heart already knows I am not lying." Ethan shook his head, frustrated. "You could be manipulating me," he said. "You could be some trick, planted here to get inside my head." The woman leaned forward, her silver eyes gleaming in the dim light. "If I wished to harm you," she whispered, "I would have done so long ago." The words struck him with quiet force. It was true. If she had been hiding here, watching him, listening for so long, she could have destroyed him at any time, yet she hadn't. Ethan lowered his gaze, torn between logic and instinct. Every fiber of his mind told him not to trust her, but every beat of his heart whispered that he already had. He remembered his own words, the jokes, the confessions, the fears he had spoken aloud when he thought no one could hear. Those were not the words of a guarded man. Those were the words of someone desperate to be understood. And she had understood. That realization filled him with both shame and strange relief. He looked at her again, his voice barely more than a whisper. "If you're telling the truth, then what do you want from me?" The alien woman's expression changed, a shadow of sorrow crossing her face. "I want you to trust me," she said. "Just enough to see the truth with your own eyes." Ethan clenched his fists. "Truth," he repeated. "You keep saying that word, but you never explain what it is." She stood slowly, her presence taller and more commanding in the dim light. "You will see it soon," she said, "but you must choose to stand with me. Otherwise, you will remain in chains you cannot see." Her words stirred something deep inside him, a memory he couldn't fully reach. For a second he felt as though she wasn't speaking only to him, but to something inside him, something buried. The air between them grew heavy, earthy, and rose to his feet as well, though his knees trembled. "You're asking me to trust you without proof," he said. "That's not easy." The woman's smile returned, soft and almost human. "It was not easy for me to trust your voice either," she whispered. "But I did, and it saved me." Her words struck him deeply. He remembered the countless hours of talking into silence, never knowing his voice mattered. Now she claimed his words had kept her alive, and that knowledge both terrified and humbled him. It meant he had already given her more than he ever meant to. The silence stretched again, filled only by the steady hum of the ship. Finally, Ethan broke it, his voice uncertain but firm. "If I do trust you," he asked, "what happens next?" Her glowing eyes softened as she stepped closer. "Then we will no longer be two voices lost in silence," she said. "We will become something stronger." Ethan felt his throat tighten. Her words carried a weight he didn't fully understand, yet they pulled at him. He thought of his loneliness, the crushing nights of silence, the fear that no one would ever hear his final breath. Now, standing before him was someone who had heard every word, every weakness, every secret. It was terrifying, but also freeing. He realized that for the first time in weeks, he was not truly alone. His fear began to shift into something new, a fragile thread of trust, and with it came a dangerous thought. Maybe she was right. Maybe the silence really was ending. He stepped closer to her, though his voice still trembled. "I don't know if I can trust you," he said honestly, "but I want to." Her eyes shone brighter, and for a moment he saw something almost like relief in them. "That is enough," she whispered, "for now." But then her smile faded, replaced by a grave seriousness. "If you choose me," she warned, "you will be hunted. They will not let you. Go free." Ethan's blood ran cold. "Who are they?" he asked again, desperate for clarity. Her lips parted as if to answer, but then she stopped, her gaze shifting toward the walls. Her silver eyes narrowed as if she sensed something Ethan could not. "What is it?" Ethan asked nervously. She raised a hand, motioning for silence. For the first time since she revealed herself, her calm expression cracked into something sharp. Fear. "They are listening now," she whispered. "And they know you are no longer silent." Ethan's heart leapt into his throat. The hum of the ship suddenly sounded louder, heavier, as if the walls themselves had ears. He glanced around wildly, but saw nothing, only shadows and the same lifeless panels. The woman's voice came low and urgent. "You must decide, Ethan. Trust me, or let them erase you like the others." The choice hung in the air like a blade, and for the first time Ethan understood that his silence had protected him, but now it might destroy him. Shadows of the past. The silence pressed hard against Ethan's ears. Her warning kept echoing. They are listening. They know. He stood frozen, his heart pounding like a drum in the dark room. The alien woman's glowing eyes darted around as if she could see something beyond the walls. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and sharp. "We do not have much time," she whispered. "But you deserve to know why I am here." Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted answers more than anything, but the fear in her eyes made him wonder if the truth might hurt worse than the lies. Still, he nodded. "Tell me," he said softly. "I need to know." She stepped closer, her silver light casting faint shadows on the metal floor. "My people were not always prisoners," she began. "We were free. We lived among the stars. We built homes on worlds you have never seen." Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to remain steady. "But then they came," she said, the word heavy with hate. "A race of silence, who feared voices not their own." Ethan frowned, his brow furrowed. "Silence," he repeated. "What do you mean?" Her eyes darkened. They believe control is peace, that obedience is safety. They erase those who resist. They silence voices until nothing remains but echoes. She touched the wall with her hand, her glowing fingers leaving faint streaks of light. This place is not just a cage, Ethan. It is a monument to their control, a prison made to erase whole cultures. Ethan's stomach twisted. The thought of being trapped forever in silence, stripped of voice and choice, sent a chill through his bones. "They did this to your people?" he asked quietly. Her head bowed. "Yes," she whispered. "They came without warning. They took our stars, our freedom, our children. They erased our songs and replaced them with silence." For a long moment, Ethan could not speak. He remembered the nights he had sat alone, talking into emptiness, thinking it was only his own madness. Now he realized his loneliness was only a shadow of what she had endured. An entire people stripped of voice, their memories locked inside cages. Her glowing eyes lifted to his again. "I survived because I found your voice," she said. "It broke through the silence. It reminded me that not all is lost." Her words struck him harder than any weapon. The idea that his small, desperate ramblings had been a lifeline to someone else felt impossible, yet it was real. Ethan's chest tightened. "I'm just one man," he whispered. "What can I possibly do against something like them?" Her gaze softened, but her voice carried a sharp edge. "You are not just one man," she said firmly. "You are proof that silence can be broken, that even in the darkest place, a single voice can reach another." Her conviction made his hands tremble. He had never thought of himself as strong, yet now she was telling it. He carried something powerful enough to defy an empire. It felt like a burden and a gift all at once. Ethan took a shaky breath. "Why me?" he asked. "Why not someone else?" The alien woman stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Because you spoke when others chose silence," she said softly. "You dared to fill the emptiness with words, and that made you dangerous to them." Her words cut deep. Dangerous. Him, a man who once begged the empty room just to hear his own voice. And yet, a part of him understood. Maybe it wasn't strength that made him dangerous, but the refusal to give up, even when no one was listening. The ship's hum grew louder, almost as if responding to their words. The woman's eyes flicked upward, narrowing. "They are close," she whispered. "We cannot stay here much longer." Fear rushed through Ethan. He grabbed her arm without thinking, his voice urgent. "What do they want from me? Why not just kill me already?" Her silver gaze met his, steady and unflinching. "They do not kill right away," she said. "They erase, piece by piece, memory by memory, until nothing of you is left, not even your name." Ethan's blood turned to ice. The thought of forgetting himself, of being hollowed out until nothing remained, was worse than death. He stepped back, his breath ragged. "I can't do this," he whispered. "I'm not a hero. I'm not—" She gripped his hand tightly, cutting him off. "Neither am I," she said fiercely. "But together we can be more than they fear. Together we can remember what they want erased." The words struck like lightning. Together, she wasn't asking him to fight alone. She was offering him something he hadn't had in years. A bond. A reason to keep moving. And deep down, Ethan knew the silence had been killing him long before she appeared. Her grip tightened, her eyes glowing brighter. "They took my people's past," she said. "But they will not take yours too, not while I still breathe." Ethan's chest burned with a mix of fear and something he couldn't name. Maybe hope, maybe defiance, maybe both. The hum of the ship grew sharp, almost alive. A red glow began to pulse faintly along the walls. The alien woman pulled him toward the shadows, her voice low and urgent. "They are coming," she whispered. "And if you want to live, you must trust me now." Ethan hesitated only for a second. Then he nodded, his voice rough but steady. "All right," he said. "I trust you." Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of relief and sorrow, and together they slipped into the darkness, while the red glow spread like blood through the walls. The dangerous choice, The red glow spread across the walls like veins of fire. Ethan's chest heaved as alarms began to pulse through the ship, low and steady, like a heartbeat counting down. The alien woman pulled him forward, her grip unshakable. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with urgency. "They know," she whispered. "They can hear us now." Ethan's legs felt heavy, every step like dragging chains through mud. He wanted to stop, to breathe, to scream, but there was no time. The ship itself seemed to be alive, the hum of its core shifting into a deeper, more menacing tone. He glanced at her glowing eyes, desperate for direction. "What do we do?" he gasped. "How do we get out of this?" She stopped suddenly, pressing her hand against a wall. The metal rippled like water under her touch. A hidden passage appeared, narrow and dark. Without hesitation, she pulled him inside. The wall sealed shut behind them, drowning the corridor in shadows Ethan could barely see, but her faint glow lit the way. The sound of marching echoed above them, metallic and sharp. "They are searching," she said softly. "Their hunters are near." Ethan clenched his fists, his breath shaky. "Hunters," he muttered. "What kind of hunters?" Her silence was answer enough. The air grew colder as they moved deeper into the passage. Ethan's mind raced, torn between fear and the memory of her words. He had chosen to trust her, but now the weight of that choice pressed down like stone. Was this trust leading him to freedom or to his end? The woman slowed her pace, glancing back at him. "They will force you to decide soon," she whispered, "to stay safe in silence or to fight beside me." Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted safety, wanted to wake up in his small, quiet room back on Earth, where danger was only a dream. But that room was gone, and silence was no longer peace. It was a prison. She paused at a curve in the tunnel, her hand hovering above the wall, her glow dimmed, her face pale. "You must understand," she said softly. "If you help me, you will not only fight for me, but for every voice they try to erase." Ethan shook his head, his voice breaking. "I'm not a soldier. I don't know how to fight." Her eyes softened, but her reply was sharp. "You fought every day you chose to speak, even when no one answered. That is the fight they fear most." Ethan's chest ached at her words. Was it true? Was his loneliness somehow resistance? Or was she just trying to pull him deeper into her war? His thoughts were cut short by a new sound. The walls shivered as something massive moved above. The thud of mechanical steps, slow and deliberate. The hunters. The alien woman pressed her hand to the wall again, revealing another opening. They stepped into a larger chamber, faintly glowing with alien symbols etched into the floor. "This is old," she whispered, her voice filled with awe and pain. "This place once belonged to my people." Ethan looked around. The walls curved like the inside of a cathedral. It felt sacred, but broken, as if even this place had been stolen. He turned to her, his voice low. "Why show me this?" Her eyes glistened. "Because soon you must choose, Ethan, to leave me behind and return to silence, or to walk with me and break it forever." The weight of her words crushed him. Leave her, and he might survive. Stay with her, and he might die. But deep down, he already knew survival without meaning was another kind of death. The chamber trembled as the hunters drew closer, their heavy steps echoing like drums of war. Ethan's heart raced, his breath ragged. Fear screamed at him to run, to hide, to save himself. But then he saw her, standing tall despite the chains of her past, her eyes still glowing with fragile hope. And for the first time, Ethan realized he was not afraid of dying. He was afraid of going back to silence, of letting her voice be erased too. He stepped forward, his fists clenched, his voice unsteady but strong. "I'll help you," he said, "no matter what it costs." Her lips parted in surprise, then curved into a faint, sorrowful smile. "You have chosen," she whispered, "and together, we will not be forgotten." The chamber doors burst open, a flood of crimson light pouring in. Towering figures stepped inside, their bodies covered in black armor. their faces hidden behind smooth masks. The hunters. Their voices were not words but vibrations, deep tones that rattled the air and froze Ethan's blood. The alien woman stepped in front of him, her glow intensifying. "They will come for me first," she said, "but they will not take you without a fight." Ethan stared at her back, at the defiance burning in her stance. This was no longer her fight alone. It was his too. The hunters moved closer, shadows swallowing the light. Ethan took a breath, his choice carved into stone. There was no going back, not now, not ever. The chamber filled with the sound of war approaching, and in that moment Ethan whispered into the dark, "Let them come." The reply that changed everything. The chamber shook with the weight of the hunters' steps. Their armor gleamed under the crimson light, their masks smooth and empty. They moved like shadows with no faces, no voices, only silence given form. Ethan's chest tightened as they spread out, cutting off every path of escape. The alien woman stood in front of him, her glow brighter than ever. She looked small against them, fragile even, yet she did not step back. Her voice was steady, sharp as a blade. "You will not take him," she said. The hunters answered not with words, but with sound. A deep vibration filled the air, heavy enough to make the walls tremble. Ethan's bones rattled, his ears rang. The silence was no longer empty, it was crushing, a silence that fought to erase even his heartbeat. He stumbled, dropping to his knees, his hands clutching his head. "Stop!" he gasped. "Please stop!" But the hunters only pressed closer, their heavy steps shaking the ground. The alien woman turned, her glowing eyes locking on him. "You must stand, Ethan," she whispered. "Do not let them take your voice." Her words cut through the suffocating silence like light in a storm. He forced himself to rise, his legs shaking, his chest burning. The hunters raised their hands, silver energy sparking between their fingers. Ethan braced for death, his heart pounding in his throat. But the woman stepped forward, her glow flaring. Symbols on the chamber floor lit up under her feet. The walls groaned, the air thickened. She was calling on something older than the hunters, something that still remembered her people. The hunters hesitated for the first time, their vibration faltering. Ethan felt the pressure ease, just enough to breathe again. He stared at her, his eyes wide. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice hoarse, her face twisted with pain. But her voice was clear. "Giving you a chance," she whispered, "a chance to choose life over silence." Her glow surged, flooding the chamber with silver light. The hunters staggered back, their masks cracking under the force, but the effort made her body tremble, her knees nearly buckling. Ethan rushed forward, grabbing her arm. "You'll kill yourself," he shouted. "Stop!" She shook her head, her lips pale but smiling. "If I fall, you must carry it forward," she said. "Your voice, Ethan, your voice must not be erased." The hunters roared in their strange vibration, striking back with a wave of energy. The chamber exploded with sparks and dust. Ethan shielded her with his body, pain tearing through him like fire. Still he stood, refusing to fall. When the dust cleared, the hunters advanced again, slower but relentless. Ethan's fear turned into something sharper, heavier. He thought of the days he had begged the silence to answer. He thought of the moment she smiled and said she had heard everything, and something inside him broke free. He stepped in front of her, his voice raw. "You will not erase me," he shouted, his words echoing across the chamber. "You will not erase her." The sound of his defiance rang out, and for a heartbeat the hunters faltered. The vibration around them cracked, like glass under strain. The alien woman's eyes widened, tears shining in the silver glow. She touched his arm, her voice trembling. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. "Your voice is stronger than their silence." Ethan's chest burned, but the fire was no longer fear. It was strength. It was something alive. The hunters regrouped, their masks glowing with crimson. But this time, Ethan did not step back. The woman stood beside him, her glow steady again. Together they faced the enemy. The chamber shook violently, dust raining from the ceiling. The hunters raised their arms once more. But Ethan and the alien woman did not move. Their voices, one of silver light, one of human defiance, rose together. The clash of silence and sound filled the air, shaking the very walls. And then, in the middle of chaos, she turned to him, her smile soft despite the storm. "You are not alone anymore," she said, her words clear and final. "From this moment, humanity will never be the same." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Her reply hit deeper than any blow. Not alone, not erased, not forgotten. For the first time in years, he believed it. The chamber erupted with light and sound as voices, his, hers, and echoes of others long gone, rose against the hunters. The fight was not over. The danger had only begun. But Ethan knew one thing now. Silence would never own him again. The screen of the mind faded to black, leaving the last image burned into memory. Ethan and the alien woman standing side by side, defiance burning brighter than fear, and the hunters closing in. Their reply had changed everything. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.